Welcome, everybody. This is Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM. Make it legendary. It's Wednesday, January 14th, and we are talking about the coaching news. Mike Tomlin is out. John Harbaugh is out. We knew that, but that's just kind of crazy to think in the AFC North. And we are talking about our top 12 running backs for 2026. And it's fantasy superlative time. Who won MVP on Facebook? Who won comeback player of the year? All these things we'll tell you. Welcome. Good morning, Dave Richard.
John Harbaugh is out to the offices of the New York Giants today in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Should I drive by and see what's going on?
I think you should go in and try and talk him into being the Giants head coach, because if anybody could convince him on all the great things the Giants do, it's certainly you.
Mm-hmm. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning.
Dave, you said I should go in. I want to tell you the worst place I ever went into. Shouldn't have gone into. I'd never been there before. Didn't know the rules. Went to Sonic. They brought food to my car. You ever been to Sonic?
I'm fat. Of course I have.
But we don't have them in South Florida.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, really?
You could walk to one from my house. They figured out where they'd make the most money, and they built Sonic.
Well, anyway, you're not supposed to go in there. So they brought me my food. I think I needed some napkins or whatever. I got out of the car. I went in, and they looked at me like, "What are you doing, you freak?"
Oh, there's one near, not far from our office that actually you could dine in.
Really?
Yeah.
Things are changing. Things are changing in the world. I can't keep up with it. Anyway, busy show today, so let's get to it here.
I love how that's your example of things changing in the world.
Yeah.
Is a Sonic that has like a few tables and bar stools that you can sit at. Like that's, wow, the world is really a different place.
It's pretty deep stuff. I'm going to tell you the other thing that y'all need to remember. Okay. Two. I'll give you two. I'll give you a bonus. Since we're talking about top 12 running backs. Okay. Go back to 2024. After the Zach Moss injury, Chase Brown was the number 3 running back on a per game basis in the second half of the season in 2024. That's why we like him so much coming to this year. How about when Joe Burrow came back week 13 this year, Chase Brown was the number 2 running back for the rest of the season. So that's 2 sample sizes of him as the lead running back. Now, P. Ryan did not play in a lot of those games, so that's a big thing. But
well, if you go back to even before Burrow came back, like he was starting to take off much earlier this season.
It's actually really only, I feel like, a couple games for him before Burrow came back. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. It was 4 games before that. Then he had that 8. He hadn't had any like big rushing performances. Then he had 18 carries for 99 yards. But you're right. The 4 games before that. Wow. You know what? I'm going to tell you. Let's run it from week 8. Let's see where he was from weeks 8 through 18. Chase Brown was the number 4 running back in fantasy and number 3 per game. And he averaged 21.2 PPR fantasy points per game. Good stuff.
Sexy.
Thank you, Jamie. All right. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's get to the news and notes. All right, we got Kevin Patullo, Philadelphia offensive coordinator, not fired, but demoted, might remain on the staff. Mike Tomlin stepping down. Adam Schefter said he's not expected to coach this season, but there was a different report that said, I'd be surprised if he didn't coach this season, so we'll see. Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator for the Chargers, and their offensive line coach, Mike Devlin, they've been fired. They finished 18th in scoring. But in the 4 healthy games with Joe Alt, they averaged 26.8 offensive points per game. And they faced the Chiefs, Raiders, Broncos, and Vikings in those games. And their lowest output was against the Raiders. How weird.
Yeah. Herbert had 26.2 fantasy points per game in those.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting that Roman is taking the fall here, but I don't know.
Didn't have a counterpunch when their offensive line went to Dookie. So that's probably why he and Devlin got the axe. But I think this is going to be the first time now where Jim Harbaugh doesn't have Roman as his OC. So we're headed towards some interesting times in LA. And just the 26.2, that's like the little small sample size microcosm that you can remember when it comes to drafting Justin Herbert next August. Because if he's got a healthy offensive line, that's his upside. That's top 5 QB upside. I've taken him in both of our mocks so far. I intend to keep doing it.
Jamie, when you look at the Eagles news, Steelers news, Chargers news, what are your big fantasy reactions that are going to go viral, be seen by more than 2 million people, and grow our audience?
I mean, obviously the Steelers are going for a complete reset here, so we have no idea what this is going to look like. Quarterback is going to be different. Coaching staff is going to be different. Really, I think, and Kenneth Gainwell's a free agent, so really, I think the only thing you're looking at this point is where you'll take DK Metcalf, where you'll take Jalen Warren, and then sort of figure out the rest. But yeah, there's just so many questions to be answered in regards to the Steelers. For the Eagles, if the personnel is the same, we've gone through this already twice. When they lose Shane Steichen and then replace him eventually with Kellen Moore, and how that looked and how great it was for the Eagles. And so now hopefully they get the offense coordinator situation right. My guess, unless he gets a head coaching job, is Mike McDaniel's going to have his choice of Detroit or Philadelphia, which I think are probably the two best offensive coordinator jobs available with head coaches in place. That's a pretty good opportunity for both of those offenses to get a creative play caller in there that could hopefully help those playmakers and be great for fantasy. What was the other one you mentioned?
Well, the Chargers would also be one of those places that would be attractive.
I don't think McDaniel makes sense for the Chargers personally, but it would be fun. I think the best case for McDaniel would probably be Detroit. Just knowing that there's so many options from a speed standpoint, which is what he's had so much success with.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to see him go there if he's not going to be a head coach. But look, obviously anywhere he goes, he's going to inject life into that offense. I'd be very surprised though if Jim Harbaugh and Mike McDaniel are on the same staff.
Would you be surprised if Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman are on the same staff? Because they have been, right?
Yeah.
And then, but his brother just fired him, so awkward. But
you mean John Harbaugh and Greg Roman?
Yeah, sorry, John Harbaugh. Yeah. I'm sitting here, obviously very invested in this coaching stuff, thinking, man, I really want them to get John Harbaugh, but I don't really want Greg Roman to be the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if Roman and the other Harbaugh, the longer tenured Harbaugh, I guess that's Jim now, right? Because John just lost his gig.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if Roman was with a Harbaugh brother this coming year.
It's pretty funny that Zach Taylor is the now longest tenured
coach
in the
Yeah.
AFC North. Do you know the longest tenured coach in pro sports in the United States? I think it's pro sports in the United States.
Yeah.
I heard this morning.
I saw it yesterday on Twitter. What'd you say, Dave?
Spoelstra?
Yep.
Yeah. How long?
Oh God.
It's got to be 2 decades.
I believe he took over right before the big three, so that was 2006, 2005, maybe
2008.
Only there was an internet.
2008 is when it was.
It wasn't Van Gundy.
06 was when they beat the Mavericks.
Did Stan Van Gundy win a championship with them? I always confuse this.
No, Stan I think won. No, Stan was fired midway through when they got Check.
Oh, midway through. Okay. All right. Well,
or demoted. I don't remember what it was, but Riley took over.
Yeah. Okay. So we have, I mean, this is such a fascinating coaching cycle now. We've got great coaches out there.
9 jobs.
And offensive coordinator positions and good offenses like we talked about. And honestly, as much as I just said, I don't really want Greg Roman to be the Giants offensive coordinator. He has coached 12 seasons as an offensive coordinator and top 12 in scoring in 8 of those 12 seasons. I just think he's typically been too conservative to, he's had some great offenses like with Lamar Jackson, but a little bit too conservative. Like, I don't really want that, but
it would make sense though with the Giants personnel because you have a running quarterback and you have playmakers that can still make explosive plays in the right situations.
Yeah, I don't think people will be excited about it though from a Malik Neighbors or Dart standpoint.
I'm going to guess if you get Harbaugh, everybody's going to be excited about the Giants.
As a winner, yeah. As a fantasy, that's the thing. Is it good for fantasy? I don't know. It depends on the.
I think those players are good for fantasy. But you know what? You already hate Malik Neighbors anyway, so what does it matter?
He went in the first round again yesterday. I just cannot see a justification for Malik Neighbors right now in drafts that we are certainly not going to play out. But right now, being a first round pick, it's madness. It's madness. I'm not going to say anything bad about anyone because I don't want Jamie to rat on me and then me get a text message about me saying something bad about someone for drafting Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, that would be bad. It'd be bad for you to say anything disrespectful about a coworker.
What do you mean? What am I
Nothing.
missing?
Nothing.
What did I say? What did I do now?
Nothing.
All right, more news and notes. Fred Warner, 49ers linebacker, he could play if the 49ers advance to the NFC Championship game. So maybe 1 week away. Did you see Sean Payton get mad at the reporter for asking about Dre Greenlaw downhill tackling?
No.
So unnecessary. What the heck? So mean. All right, Buffalo. Guys, Buffalo's going to lose. They're very injured. They're favored at Denver. They're going to lose. Running back Ty Johnson, he missed practice. So did cornerback Maxwell Hairston, listed as missing practice. Safety Jordan Poyer's out this week. I thought his replacement struggled last week, so that's a concerning one. And wide receivers Gabe Davis and Tyrell Shavers tore their ACL. Josh Palmer is on IR. Are these great game-changing players? No, but they have 3 healthy wide receivers right now. They play.
But see, this was the genius of the Bills. They knew that they would run into the Broncos eventually and said, Patrick Surtain's just going to shut down our best receiver. We don't have one.
Who do you guys think's going to win that game?
I mean, I have Buffalo in the Super Bowl, so I expected this.
I guess Buffalo, but I haven't decided yet. I
am surprised that they are favored. You don't see 1 seeds as underdogs at home ever, basically. I think this is like the 3rd one. I have that note somewhere. I'll try to find it. But more news. Seattle, good news for them. Left tackle Charles Cross, tight end Elijah Arroyo. They practiced in full. They play the Niners on Saturday. Denver defensive tackle John Franklin Myers practiced in full. They get the Bills on Saturday. Carolina picked up Bryce Young's 5th-year option, but they have not committed to him long-term. You have to pick up a player's 5th-year option before his 4th year. So that's basically 2 years left of Bryce Young, unless they sign him to a long-term deal.
I heard this also on the radio the other day, that he would be like the 20-something by cost quarterback in 2026. And by the time his 5th-year option kicks in, he'll probably be like the 24th to 26th quarterback in terms of cost. Like, it just makes so much sense to do it.
And Minnesota head coach Kevin O'Connell wants competition at the quarterback position. And Jordan Addison was arrested for trespassing. Hopefully that's nothing too serious there. Okay, I said there were like 2 things I was going to give you to know. I only said one of them, the Chase Brown thing. I got a bonus thing for you in just a moment. But right now it's playoff time. It's time for football at BetMGM. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, boost tokens, and the best daily promotions in the business. And when you huddle up with BetMGM at your fingertips, every pass, every catch, and every game matter more than ever. So football's here. Don't miss out on any of the hard-hitting action. Place your money line, prop, and parlay bets with BetMGM today. Here's your bonus thing to know. You guys going to ever take my advice? Please commit right now to taking my advice.
Oh, gosh. No. No.
Don't go into Sonic is one. But also...
Well, why would you ever?
I needed napkins. What was I supposed to do?
That's fine. For napkins, that's okay.
Yeah.
Were you by yourself?
No, I was with 2 other people. Yeah, it was embarrassing.
Okay. For napkins, it's okay.
My first Sonic. The other thing is Mayor of Kingstown is unbelievable. I just finished season 4. It's a Paramount Plus plug to boot here. But even if it weren't, I would tell you, Mayor of Kingstown is amazing. Watch that show. Talk about it with me. I freaking love it. It's so good. It's so addicting. Quick. You don't have to. It's not 2.5 hour episodes like Stranger Things. They're an hour. Just go through them. You're going to love it. Great show.
You weren't this excited about a show since Stranger Things.
Yeah, I know. I love Stranger Things. But at the end, I was like, oh my God. I start watching at like 11 p.m. Like, I can't be up till 1. This is ridiculous. So it's a little too long. Mayor of Kingstown doesn't have that problem. All right, let's take a break. Top 12 running backs and superlative winners when we come back on Fantasy Football Today.
The new era of UFC on Paramount Plus comes out swinging. Yes. Show-stopping highlight machine Justin Gaethje collides with Liverpool phenom Paddy Pimblett in a must-see main event for the interim lightweight belt.
This is how I get down.
And Hall of Famer Amanda Nunes returns.
She's the best ever.
To take on bantamweight champion Kayla Harrison in the biggest women's title fight of all time. UFC 324, Saturday, January 24th, only on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back, everybody. Okay, top 12 at the running back position. Now, this is, if you want to talk about maybe Bijan Robinson, is it going to be one? Is it going to be two? Just consider Jahmyr Gibbs was on the second best offense in the NFL. Bijan Robinson was on the 22nd best offense in the NFL. Got a whole lot of notes on finishing top 5 on bad offenses and whatnot, but might just be like Bijan Robinson scored 12 touchdowns, I think. 11 touchdowns. He scored 11. He scored 11 touchdowns. There were actually 2 running backs in full PPR that finished top 5 on bad offenses. You want to call them bad, below average, whatever. Falcons were 22nd in scoring. Dolphins were 25th in scoring. Those 2 guys scored 11 or 12 touchdowns. Achane scored 12 in 16 games, but they had a ton of catches. So that's super important for these running backs that may not score the same amount of touchdowns. They need to have the catches. Bijan and Achane almost certainly will. The other 3 guys in the top 5, there were 5 like elite running backs who averaged more than 20 points per game. The other 3 guys were McCaffrey, Gibbs, and Jonathan Taylor, and they all scored, I want to say 17 or 18, say 18 or more touchdowns. So that's the benefit, obviously, of being on these great offenses, more touchdown opportunities. All right, let's go with our top 3. Jamie, who's the top 3?
Bijan is 1. Jahmyr Gibbs is 2. Devon Achane's 3.
Okay, Dave?
I have a totally different order. I've got Robinson 1.
That's what he
Gibbs
has.
2.
Oh, okay.
And Devon 3.
All right. Well, I guess just to be different, I have Bijan Robinson 1, Jahmyr Gibbs 2, and Achane 3. But it is interesting, right, that we have 2 running backs in the top 3 who were not on top 20 offenses. We've got the Dolphins obviously in flux a little bit. For what it's worth, Quinn Ewers gave Devon Achane only 3 targets in both of the games that Achane played with him. So should we be reconsidering those guys is as Bijan number 1, Achane number 3, when, I mean, the Lions just finished 2nd in the NFL in scoring and fired their offensive coordinator. That's how good their offense is. You know what I mean? Like, how much, Dave, should that be a factor here?
It's definitely something to keep in mind when it comes to Gibbs. He absolutely has the potential to move up to number 1. What would it take? It would take a nice splash at offensive coordinator. We've already talked about how cool it would be if Mike McDaniel was the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. It would also, I would be more encouraged if the Lions moved on from David Montgomery, which is possible, and they don't really replace him with somebody who's a legit threat to take 10 to 12 touches away from Jahmyr Gibbs from game to game. And so if that were to happen, if we go into the year where we know Jahmyr Gibbs is far and away the lead back, the stud, everything in Detroit's offense, yeah, I think you could absolutely look at him as the number 1 running back and he would leapfrog Bijan.
And
the irony would be is if they move on from Montgomery and sign Algier.
Right. That wouldn't be something that wouldn't excite me. That would not make me want to move Gibbs over Bijan. We're nitpicking between these 2, but that's the type of thing that would hold me back from putting Gibbs 1 and Bijan 2.
Yeah, and Gibbs, so the first 8 games of the season, he averaged 14.2 carries per game. The second 9 games of the season, he averaged 14.4 carries per game. Same exact thing. However, the difference is David Montgomery's role shrunk. So Gibbs, the percentage of running back carries actually went way up in the second half of the year. What happened? Their defense once again fell apart. It was one of the worst in the NFL in the second half of the year, and they just didn't run the ball as much. But if they can get back to what they want, have like a decent defense, run the ball, you could see a career high in carries easily for Jahmyr Gibbs.
And Gibbs just did what he did. It was 21.6 PPR points per game on 320 touches. That's it. Like everybody else that had huge fantasy averages, way north of 350 touches. The one exception being Achane.
Johnny Airport says, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say 1 Bijan, 2 Gibbs, 3 Achane. I appreciate that.
We've got a consensus.
All right, let's do 4, 5, and 6 here. And this is where things will be different for sure. Jamie, go ahead. 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey's at 4. Jonathan Taylor's at 5. And James Cook is at 6.
McCaffrey, Taylor, Cook. Dave?
Yeah, same names, different order. Jonathan Taylor is 4th for me. I've got James Cook 5th, and Christian McCaffrey is 6th.
And then I'm the moron who has Hampton 4, McCaffrey 5, Cook 6. Okay,
Wow.
first of all,
Taylor.
McCaffrey's RB1, which is he's no stranger to that spot. Dave, why isn't he higher than 4th or 5th for anyone?
I'm worried about the workload catching up with him. We already know that he's sitting at 434 touches with at least one more game to play. He'll turn 30 years old next year. I did the study on Saquon last year and running backs that had a lot of work and what happens the year after. This will sound familiar, but here we go. Over the last 16 years, Christian McCaffrey is now the 18th running back to get 400 plus touches in a season. Of the 17 running backs before him that had 400 or more touches in a season, and this includes Saquon, last year, only 3 outperformed their 400 plus touch year. 4 more were close enough to their 400 plus touch year. And the other 10 running backs who fell short, they either sat out, which is what Le'Veon did in 2018. Thanks a lot for that, Le'Veon. Got hurt. That includes McCaffrey in 2020, Derrick Henry in 2021, or saw at least a 20% drop in their per game average, and that includes Saquon in 2025. It's worrisome, especially for a running back who's about to turn 30 behind an offensive line that's got a left tackle who's basically the linchpin of their offense, who's also way older and might not be there next year.
And one of their best blockers who may not be there at the start of the season either with George Kittle. I think in the case of McCaffrey, it's probably the most fascinating player at this point to discuss because of the 6 of us who submitted rankings that are on the site from the stories. You can't see them in the ranking list, but so that includes Heath, Dan, and Jacob. They all have McCaffrey higher than the 3 of us do. So Heath has him as the 3rd running back. Jacob has him as the 2nd running back, and Dan has him as the 1st running back. So you can imagine when you see the story of our top 24 players, McCaffrey's 1st overall for Dan, and then the top 5, or top 3 for Jacob and Heath, I believe. Oh no, I'm sorry. Heath has all 3 wide receivers first. So relatively high in any event. So that's just a sample size of 6 people ranking players and where McCaffrey's going to go. Now in the drafts that we've done, we've only done 2, 1 PPR, 1 half PPR. McCaffrey has not gone in the top 3, I believe. So there's still some trepidation from people drafting him. Now, again, those 3 people who ranked him that high had not had the chance to draft him, so that might have changed things. So I think just where he comes out, it's very similar to the Barkley conversation from a year ago.
Exactly like it.
The people who are going to be bullish on him are going to draft him high, understandably so. And look, for what it's worth, Barkley stayed healthy, which was the best thing, so at least you still got good production from him. You just did not get the return on investment that you were expecting because he dropped by almost 8 PPR points per game. I think the thing with McCaffrey, if he stays healthy, the thing that saves him is he's not getting all of his production as a rusher.
Right.
He is getting a ton of his production as a receiver. And hopefully the 49ers are smart enough to manage that a little bit differently going into, he's like turning 30 this year. In June is when he turns 30. So, we'll see how he comes off the playoffs, how far they go, what the offseason is like. But we dealt with this 2 years ago already. 2023, he was awesome. Long playoff run. Came back 2024, only played 4 games. So the history with McCaffrey is just not favorable. It's just a matter of, when you want to buy into drafting him.
Okay. Well, the fact that he has all those catches is what's going to make it much harder for me, certainly. And I think what makes him more challenging than Barkley from last year. But yeah, McCaffrey, I look forward to getting into some good debates about that for the next 6 months and beyond, 8 months. Okay, so to recap, I've got Bijan, Gibbs, Achane, Hampton, McCaffrey, Cook. Jamie has Bijan, Gibbs, Achane, McCaffrey, Taylor, Cook. Dave has Bijan, Gibbs, Achane, Taylor, Cook, McCaffrey. So I guess we could talk about Amari and Hampton here. He only had 4 games all year where he played more than 62% of the snaps. He played 9 games for the season, and he still had 32 catches. So I think we're all in agreement. Like, they get both of their tackles back next year healthy, Alton, Slater. They could have a phenomenal offense. They drafted him in the 1st round. I definitely want to see what they do if they sign another running back or whatever, but there's a lot of potential here. You can all agree there's a lot of potential for the offense for the Chargers. So it is a little bit bold for me to put an unproven Omarion Hampton, who averaged 4.5 yards per carry, but only 3.7 yards per carry if you remove his game against the Giants, who had a historically bad run defense. And quite frankly, sometimes it just didn't look that good. But very involved in the passing game. If he's there every down back, if he's playing 80% of the snaps, he's a guy who has, I think, RB1 potential. And he did that in 4 of his 9 games. So it's a leap of faith right now. I don't know that it'll stay at 4 for Hampton, but he's got that potential.
I mean, he's definitely a top 12 running back, top 10 running back, I think, for almost everybody. You see what the upside could be. You hope that there's not going to be an injury scenario that follows him. So, let's just say it was a fluke situation this year with the foot ankle injury that he dealt with. But yeah, and this is kind of a little bit why I'm somewhat hesitant on Herbert, because we know what Harbaugh wants to do. And this guy is as good as advertised, then this could be a very run heavy offense. And they limit what Herbert's ceiling can get to. Still, worth taking as a borderline number 1 quarterback, but will we ever see the heights of Herbert? Because when Herbert was at his best early this season, they were, tentative with Hampton. They were still going with Hampton and Najee. And then really once Hampton started to get going a little bit is when the offensive line started to break down, then Hampton gets hurt. So the thing that I love about Hampton, you brought this up, I think, when we previewed the playoffs, was what he started to do as a pass catcher when he came back, and so I think that's the thing that's encouraging. So do they bring in a guy that's going to play on obvious passing downs? Do they bring in a guy that's going to supplement him on passing down situations? That would be more of the concern for me, because if he's just a first and second down guy, then I don't think he should definitely not be a top 5 overall running back. But if he's going to be an every down, three down running back, can do everything that we look for, work at the goal line, work on passing downs, all those things, then the upside is huge, especially if the offensive line stays healthy. So yeah, borderline first round pick. I think he's better in the second round, at least at the moment, but certainly somebody you should consider as a top 10 running back this year. All
right, last thing here on this group, then we'll get to 7 through 12. Dave, Jonathan Taylor. Let me just give a quick stat on James Cook, because he's in the top 6 for everyone. He's 5th for Dave, 6th for Jamie and me. James Cook was the number 6 running back per game this year. He was number 11 in 2024 per game, and he went from 16.7 points per game in PPR to 18.1. What changed? They finally gave him more carries. He had 309 carries. Last year, he was on pace for 223 carries if you remove week 18 when he barely played 22% of the snaps. So just the catches didn't change. They basically stayed the same, but the carries went way up, and he averages over 5 yards per carry every year, basically. So that was Cook. For Taylor, Dave, does it bother you? You have him 4th. Does it bother you that he was the number 23 running back per game after the bye week in their last 7 games? He averaged 3.3 yards per carry. He really struggled after that huge 50-ish point game against Atlanta.
I'd argue that he struggled once Daniel Jones got hurt. And once Daniel Jones got hurt, that whole offense went from bad to worse. And I say bad to worse because midway through the year, they were great. And then things started to slide as Daniel Jones did what Daniel Jones does. Here's where I'm very encouraged by Jonathan Taylor, is that in 12 full games with Daniel Jones, throw out week 14 when Jones got hurt, he averaged 24.8 PPR points per game and 3.3 targets per game. And that's kind of new for him. That was exciting. And if Jonathan Taylor is going to stay fairly involved in the passing game, and we know what he's capable of doing as a rusher, he's coming off of a year where he scored 20 touchdowns, had almost 2,000 total yards, 369 touches. I can't help myself. He's one of these running backs that you look at and you can pencil in for 20 plus PPR points per game. Those are the guys that belong at the top of a fantasy draft.
I think I'm just really worried about what Daniel Jones is going to be next year. I think he was already...
If he's the quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. I think he was already starting to slip. Now he's coming off a torn Achilles. He's not even under contract, right? It was a 1-year deal?
It's true. Yep. So they could have somebody completely different. I'll be encouraged as long as it's not Anthony Richardson or somebody like Anthony Richardson, who will clearly take some touchdown opportunities away from Taylor, and someone who will change the way defenses play against the Colts.
Okay. All right. Let's go to commercial break. And when we come back, 7 through 12 in our 2026 running back rankings after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
We've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
Okay, let's reveal 7 through 12. For Dave, it's Chase Brown, Ashton Genty, and Omarion Hampton. We'll go 7 through 9 here. Chase Brown, Ashton Genty, and Omarion Hampton. Jamie has Hampton 7, Chase Brown 8, and Josh Jacobs at 9. Dave, you do not have Jacobs in your top 12, I'm seeing.
I don't.
Interesting. And I have Taylor 7, so I was a low guy on Taylor. Jacobs 8, and Chase Brown 9. I can't believe I'm the low guy on Chase Brown. I'm always the high guy on Chase Brown. I have him 9th. Dave has him 7th. Jamie has him 8th. So you see Chase Brown in from 7 through 9 for all of us. You see Josh Jacobs for 2 of us. No Jacobs in the top 12 for Dave. You see Hampton here for Jamie and Dave. I had Hampton 4th. And then you have Genty, which is, I guess not that crazy. Jamie has him 10th. Dave has him 8th. I have him 12th. So we're hoping for a bounce back there, improvement there. But anyway, Jamie, what do you want to say about Hampton, Brown, and Jacobs, 7, 8, and 9?
I think we already talked about Hampton enough. I think in the case of Brown, we sort of noted this, how he finished the season after a slow start. Really, the question will be is who do they bring in, if anybody, to play alongside him, and do they decide to take a little bit of the work off of him, which was a concern coming into this year. And I think they tried to do that and then realized they need him on the field as much as possible. But you know what? I mean, Samaje Perine, give him credit. He was doing some nice things before the injury. And then I don't think he was fully healthy when he came back. So just nitpicking with somebody who's got so much upside and so much potential. He's going to be a second-round pick. You could probably argue that he should be a borderline first-round pick, depending on how many running backs come off the board. But there's just a lot to love about Chase Brown when there's a healthy Joe Burrow and just how that offense continues to click.
Okay. And Jacobs. So Dave, I have Jacobs 8th. Jamie has him 9th. What do you have him? 13th, maybe?
13th.
Okay.
And honestly, I don't have a lot of conviction once I get past Hampton at 9. So, don't hate on it because I don't have Jacobs at 10 when it's Harvey, Barkley, Travion, and then Jacobs. So I'm still working through it, and I want to make sure that Jacobs, A, is a Packer, and B, is in that exact same role that we're used to seeing him in before I push him up higher in my drafts. It could happen. It's what month is it? It's January. We got time for these things to get hashed out.
Sure.
I think in the case of, and you can make the argument when you're talking about Gibbs versus Bijan, we get recency bias, which is understandable. And so Bijan's playoff performance was amazing. Jahmyr Gibbs was not. Josh Jacobs, fantasy playoffs, excuse me. Josh Jacobs' fantasy performance in the playoffs and even the NFL playoffs were horrible. And so how much of that was the knee injury? How much of that was no Jordan Love? How much of that was all of that factored into one? Prior to the last 3 games, he was still one of the best fantasy running backs. He's still going to be on an offense, assuming LaFleur is there. That's going to, my guess would be, still run centric. And so, yes, he's going to be older. We talked about this, previously. 28 years old. He's starting to maybe get to a point where you have to worry about a breakdown for somebody that's, taken on a lot of work recently. But there aren't many guys, and you look at this list, that you can say, okay, should they dominate their backfield? Mm-hmm. He checks that box. And so that's hard to overlook for the offense that he plays on, the coach that he plays for, and the type of player that he's been since coming to Green Bay. So in comparing him, just to 2 guys on Dave's list, I can't see a situation, barring injury, where Trevion Henderson is not in a 50-50 split with Ramondre Stevenson, who's looked fantastic to close the season. And RJ Harvey most likely is going to be in a shared situation based on how they used him when everybody was healthy there. So if it's Jacobs versus those 2 guys, I'm taking Jacobs.
Okay. Jacobs. Yeah, I think I mentioned this on our last show, but week 16, he was horrible. 12 carries, 36 yards, 2 catches.
He was horrible ever since his knee injury. And that happened against the Giants. It was week 11. And before then, he was awesome. He was Josh Jacobs. But
if you go just to week 15, through week 15, he averaged 17.8 PPR fantasy points per game, Josh Jacobs. That's just under what James Cook averaged this year, right? So he was terrific. And then his last 2 games, he scored 6.1 PPR fantasy points combined in his last 2 games. Wasn't healthy, and it really hurt where he finished. All right,
Plus
Genty.
you had Zach Tom dealing with injuries. You lost the center. I mean, I think that that line stays healthy. There's a lot to love about Josh Jacobs.
It's true. And especially if they don't do anything to add to their running back room, I'm going to guess that they restructure Jacobs' contract so he doesn't hurt them as much against the cap. They need some cap space. And so he'll be back, 28 years old, featured role. Yeah, I probably am a little too low, to be honest.
Okay, but Genty, you have 8th, which is interesting. I have him 12th. Jamie has him 10th. Why did you put Ashton Genty 8th?
I just can't help but think that the Raiders will not be the same as they were last year. I think they'll have a better offensive line. I think they'll have a better play caller. I think they'll have an exciting young quarterback that can energize that passing game and make it much more of a threat than where it was at the end of the season. The metrics on Ashton Genty are also impressive based on everything that he had to deal with in that offense. 0.6 yards before contact per rush. That was 47th out of 48 qualifying running backs. And he still had a 22.9% avoided tackle rate. That was 8th best. I'm counting on his talent to shine brighter and stronger while still having a huge workload in what should be an improved Vegas offense. So betting on that upside on a 23-year-old running back is the type of thing that fantasy managers should be doing.
Okay. All right. So that's 7, 8, 9. For me, it's Taylor, Jacobs, Chase Brown. For Jamie, it's Hampton, Chase Brown, Jacobs. For Dave, it's Brown, Genty, Hampton. Let's go to 10 through 12. Dave's got RJ Harvey, Saquon Barkley, and Travion Henderson. Jamie has Ashton Genty, Derrick Henry. You're the only one of the 3 of us who has Henry in your top 12, and Saquon Barkley. So Genty, Henry, Barkley. And for me, it's Barkley, Harvey, Genty. I mean, Derrick Henry was RB7 this year per game in full PPR with only 15 catches. And I haven't done it yet, but if you take out the games Lamar missed, he's probably like RB5, something like that. Or he's probably not at the 20 point per game, but he's not far, would be my guess. All right. So again, for Dave, it's Harvey, Barkley, Henderson, 10, 11, 12. For Jamie, it's Genty, Henry, Barkley. For me, it's Mike, Dave, for Adam. For Adam, it's Barkley, Harvey, Genty. All right, Jamie, Genty, Henry, Barkley for you.
I think what Dave said about Genty makes sense. You're hoping that the talent shines through, that the new coach plus a hopeful better quarterback and improved offensive line, like everything's got to be better for the Raiders than it was this year. And that's just the, upside that you're banking on for a guy that was expected to, hit the ground running. And we probably ranked him too high in his rookie season. I'm expecting a better sophomore season. It's just a matter of, where you want to slot him in. So, can see him still as a borderline first round pick. If everything is, looking great in Las Vegas, I could see him slipping to the back end of round 2. If it's a, heavy receiver run, the tight ends go ahead of him, etc. But he's got still just too much potential to overlook. And I think, Dave sort of hit on, this is kind of the spot where you start to get a little bit like, okay, who belongs in this range, which kind of tells you like there's going to be, I think, a pretty good group of number 2 running backs, but who belongs in that upper echelon, that second or third tier, depending on where you're breaking down the running back list. And so for me, once I got past Genty, and again, that's more of a hope, it's okay, who can still deliver on being a top tier guy? And I just tired of betting against Derrick Henry at this point. Like if the coach is not somebody that's going to say, okay, we have to open up the passing game and get away from this, clearly, at least for me, I didn't change my rankings. This was done before Harbaugh was let go. I can't imagine, and you said this, Adam, if it's still the same core of players in place, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry together have been pretty good the last 2 years. So I know he just turned 32. It's hard to continue to bank on this, but I mean, he keeps himself in such great shape. He seems to do a great job of avoiding injuries. He had one significant injury in his career. It was a broken foot. Again, Father Time's undefeated. At some point, it will catch up to him. But if he's back and still the featured guy and still doing what he does, the touchdowns save him from the lack of receptions. Really, the one that makes me the most nervous, honestly, is Barkley. So that's kind of where Harvey and Scadaboo come into play for me. in terms of like the next player. Probably Scatterboo ahead of Harvey if he's healthy. But at this point, like until Derrick Henry says he's done, I'm probably just going to continue to, go the opposite direction of what I went when he was 28 through 31. Just like or 28 to 30. I was on board last year, 28 to 30, and just be like, I'm done betting against him.
Okay, yeah, it's tough. I think one of the toughest questions for fantasy managers is we all have Barkley in this range. I have him 10th. Jamie has him 12th. Dave has him 11th. Are the Eagles, what we saw from the Eagles this year, was it a blip because of the coordinator or some other factor? A lot of injuries on the offensive line, even when the guys were playing, a lot of them were playing hurt.
Mhm.
Or was this the beginning of something bigger? A downward trend. Not having Jason Kelsey is a big deal for them. And Lane Johnson is older and has trouble staying healthy. And there's a lot of people that just don't really think that highly of Jalen Hurts, So this factors in with Barkley. I mean, we all saw there were times when Barkley would get in the open field and he'd look amazing, right? He looked like
saw it on over the weekend.
Absolutely, right? So the talent was still there. The efficiency was horrible. I wonder if people will dock him for that. I don't think people are docking Christian McCaffrey at all for his yards per carry. Will they do it with Saquon Barkley? But yeah, it's a tough question to answer. And then RJ Harvey, I think that, what happens in the fantasy postseason, Dave, might impact how he gets drafted. Obviously the offseason and what they do. But I think I'm pretty bullish on him. I'm 11th. You have him 10th. Jamie, you probably have him right outside the top.
He's in the top 15. Again, I just think that this is going to be a backfield that's going to be split to who he's sharing with and what role he has. That will determine, I think, how high he goes. And I do think, to, again, bring back, what Dave said about this, like we could see a handful of guys jump into this range. If the Jets get things right and keep Breece Hall or Hall leaves, he's an easy potential top 12 guy. We talked about this when we reviewed the first mock draft. If Zach Charbonnet is the guy for the Seahawks and the only guy for the Seahawks with minimal competition, I know I'll be bullish on him. And that's somebody that I'll be looking to target, and then we'll see sort of how the free agent / draft shakes out. And do the Chiefs get somebody of significance, specifically Love, for example. So there's a lot of ways that this can go. I don't think that we're close to being what it was, or what it looks like now. Excuse me.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you this about Genty. When you look at the guys who were, top 10 picks over the last 10 years or so. So am I missing anyone? We had Bijan Robinson, who actually was RB 17 per game as a rookie. He had that one game with the migraine where he had like 3 touches or whatever, but he still had a disappointing rookie season for fantasy.
Not even 15 PPR points per game.
You had Zeke, who was amazing. You have Genty. You have Leonard Fournette, who had an interesting rookie season. He had a lot of touches. He averaged 3.9 yards per carry. I think he finished like RB8 or something like that per game. You had Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey wasn't that good as a rookie. He was not their main guy. I think they had Jonathan Stewart, maybe.
Yes, that's who it was. Mm-hmm.
And he only averaged 3.7 yards per carry. Christian McCaffrey. I am a little worried that Ashton Genty is trending toward Leonard Fournette. I just don't think we saw much, and he's on such a bad team, like bad franchise, to be quite honest. I don't know. I'm not that worried about it. I have him 12th, but are you guys? How easy is it to just dismiss this really bad year for Ashton Genty?
It's going to be. Oh, sorry. I thought you were.
No, go ahead. My fault.
It's going to be really easy to dismiss if the Raiders have a home run at head coach and offensive coordinator, and we're already penciling in Mendoza to be their quarterback. And I think any coach that goes to Vegas and doesn't improve their offensive line might have a similar fate as Pete Carroll. So of course they're going to go and try and improve that offensive line, especially with a rookie quarterback. Are you kidding? They have to do that. And all those things will improve the surroundings for Genty and give him the opportunity to not get smashed in the backfield 1 out of every 2 carries that he has. So as long as that's the case, and that's the assumption that I'm working off of, is that things will be better for him, then I would expect his talent to shine through. And it's betting on things happening that haven't happened yet. when it comes to a rookie running back now going into their second year. And I think he's talented enough to prove it. Plus, he's good in the passing game. Over the course of the year, he averaged 4.3 targets per game. That's pretty high for a running back. If it's the right offensive coordinator, that number can go up. He can have more targets per game. And so, to me, he could be very easily a running back that could finish top 3 in fantasy next year.
I think the better comp than Fournette is probably Bijan, just because he still had a good rookie season. Genti did. He just didn't live up to expectations, and so you hope that comes back year 2. Bijan was obviously on a bad team. They tried to fix some things. He got much better. And I'm not trying to compare them from a talent standpoint. I'm just scenario standpoint. Like,
You should compare them from a talent standpoint, right?
well,
mean,
I don't know if
that's
Genti's as good a receiver as Bijan. So, I don't want
He's
to put
supposed
that.
to be, right? He was a wide receiver.
Yeah, but I don't think it's the same.
Sure.
Like, I think Bijan's just on a different level. But
I
sure,
agree.
not far
Right.
off.
Yeah.
But that's the hope, is that year 2 is a big step forward.
Hope so.
And I don't, by the way, it's not wrong if you're going to doubt Ashton Genti now, because nothing has changed yet for Las Vegas.
Well,
But
yes,
be
it has.
open
They
to
fired
changing
Joe.
your mind. Well, yeah, okay, that's fair. Okay, so already some good things are happening in Las Vegas, but wait, let the offseason play out and then decide. Don't write it in ink now that you're just not going to draft Ashton Genti.
Just a quick note here. In full PPR leagues, we usually get, looking at the last 10 seasons, we usually get about 3 running backs per year that finish top 12 overall, not per game, finish top 12 overall on offenses that are 20th or lower in scoring. So over the last 10 years, 24.2% of the running backs who have finished top 12 overall in PPR have been on offenses that are 20th or lower in scoring. So it's right around 3 per year. Compare that to wide receiver. Only 18.3% of wide receivers over the last 10 years have finished top 12 in PPR on offenses that rank 20th or lower in scoring. But that is changing, because half of the wide receivers who have done that in the last 10 years, it's happened in the last 3 years, 11 of the 22. We're seeing more wide receivers on kind of bad offenses finish top 12. I don't know what that's all about, but my argument used to be that offense matters more at wide receiver than it does at running back. The 10-year trends support that. The 3-year trends do not. Okay. Superlatives. Thank you very much for your top 12 lists, guys. Good stuff. They're on the website if you want to see them from everyone. Let's get to the superlatives. We asked you on Facebook. We came up with the finalists in 4 or 5 categories last week, and then we asked you on Facebook. So let's take a look at our results. Let's get to fantasy MVP. Shafee T, throw it up there. Who do we got? We had McCaffrey, Puka, JSN, and McBride. That's the order in which they finished. 48% of the vote is Christian McCaffrey. I think I voted. Let me go to Facebook. I think I voted for JSN.
You didn't vote for McCaffrey? You?
I don't remember, because JSN was a 3rd-round pick.
After you championed McCaffrey in the offseason,
After the draft value factoring in.
I am.
Yeah. And I'm not going to ding you for that, but he had you on his fantasy tennis team. He told you that before your tennis match with Dan.
I forgot.
Adam, you turned your back
What a
on
jerk.
Christian McCaffrey. I can't
What
believe
an
it.
absolute jerk.
I totally forgot. I am going to play tennis today later, though, so I'll be thinking of him.
Yeah, well, McCaffrey's not going to be in your corner anymore.
All right. Well, McCaffrey is our
trading
fantasy.
you for whoever you're playing. He's trading you for Dan.
Oh, that's no good. McCaffrey's our MVP. What's next, Schaefer? We've got the best waiver wire pickup. And our winner. This was one where we debated a long time. I definitely voted for Stafford on this. And Michael Wilson, 55% of the vote for Wilson, 38% for Stafford. Brissett, 5%. Wan'Dale Robinson, 2%. Way to go, Wan'Dale.
I told you no one was going to vote for Brissett if Stafford was on the same list.
And I told you that this was one of the most meaningful things for Jacoby Brissett. And don't you deprive him of being one of our finalists for this award. But we needed to put him on there anyway, because he earned it. He earned it. But Wilson, Jamie, I think this was wrong. I think it should be Stafford at QB2. Was he QB1? I think he was QB1. You picked him up off waivers.
No, Josh Allen was QB1. I think, look, when Wilson was starting for Marvin Harrison, he was unstoppable. And so as great as Stafford was for his body of work, Wilson's games were just fantastic. Just must start wide receiver. And as I told you, when we were debating who should be on the first team quarterback, Stafford wasn't universally started. When Wilson was the guy, he was universally started.
Right. He averaged more PPR points per game than McCaffrey, Wilson did, in the 5 games with Brissett and no Marvin Harrison Jr. That's ridiculous.
Only 5 games. By the way, Stafford, we're both right. Stafford was QB1 this year, but that's because Allen barely
Right.
played
He took 1 snap in week 18.
Yeah. So QB2 through week 17. Actually, I don't know. He outscored Allen by 30 points. So I think he probably was QB1. Oh, no. He had a huge week 18, didn't he?
It doesn't. Wilson was better. All right. Next. Go to the next one.
He wasn't better. People are wrong here. It should have been Stafford. Next up. I love getting the last word in. Oh, this one's a blowout. Comeback player of the year. We had 2 Jaguars on there, Lawrence and Etienne. Javonte Williams and Chris Olave. Javonte Williams, 59% of the vote.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Cool.
All right. Next up, I think our last one. Biggest bust. Was it Justin Jefferson, Saquon Barkley, Ashton Genty, or Brian Thomas Jr.? Is this the biggest margin here? 61%? Justin Jefferson is your biggest bust. Yeah.
We didn't even need to put this on Facebook.
Brian Thomas Jr., 31%. And then Barkley and Genty both got 4%.
It just, man, he's another one that's gonna be very fascinating to break down. But I do wonder. So Adam, let me ask this question: would you take Jefferson or Neighbors right now?
Right now, I take Jefferson. I wouldn't take Neighbors in the second round right now.
You wouldn't take Neighbors in the second round right now. Okay, so just to rehash your feelings on Malik Neighbors, you really, really were upset that he was drafted in the first round in both drafts, right?
Yeah, I wasn't really that upset about it, but
well, you were so upset that you critiqued one of our coworkers.
Yeah,
and let's just Thomas, do you have that? Do you have the critique of Adam making fun of?
You are a bumbling moron who shouldn't even be invited into a league if you take Malik Neighbors in round 1.
So there you have it. That's what you said about our friend Moron Berkson. So Thomas,
literally the nicest guy in our building, by the way.
Really, and joins us all the time in our drafts, and just very, very challenging and disappointing that you said that. So,
oh no!
So here he is, bumbling Moron.
Oh,
what's up, guys?
Hey, Moron.
How's it going?
Honor. Moron, as you know, we really appreciate all the work that you do behind the scenes in making CBS Sports HQ fantastic. And when you join us on our drafts, you make our drafts better because you are one of our more talented fantasy managers.
I appreciate that.
And then to get slandered like that by somebody who is a fellow University of Miami alum
and a Giants fan.
I mean, just amazing that he would call you a bumbling. I don't even know. I can't even go on. So Moron, defend yourself.
Yeah,
he called you a BM.
It's
really
this
what
goes
he did.
back to if you could see my screen here to a little score in the playoffs where I defeated this bumbling moron defeated Adam Azer in the playoffs. And, you might be a little bitter about that. I was shocked. I was shocked. Probably most surprised I've been in a very long time to hear that, but we'll get through it, and hopefully the Canes can win and bring us back together again.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, you're a producer, Moron, so I think you understand that sometimes a host has to feel the show out and go, this is a moment to really shake things up. Right? I said it earlier, go viral. 2 million.
Right.
We're going to get 2 million views out of this. We're going to get 200,000 more subscribers out of this bumbling moron segment. So I didn't mean anything I said. I was only doing it for the audience.
I know you're very edgy.
I think, Moron, you should show how great your team was in that draft by taking Malik Neighbors in round 1. So here was
I thought it was
the PPR draft that he did. He did. Look, stacking the Giants, Jackson Dart and Malik Neighbors, got Chris Olave as well, Colston Love. Like, this is just an unbelievable team, especially if Genty and Kamara live up to what could be for Genty, what once was for Kamara. But this team, to me, is fantastic, even with taking the big risk, the big leap of taking Malik Neighbors in round 1.
Yeah, I didn't even think it was that crazy because he should be back for the beginning of the season, and he was amazing before he got hurt. Dart, second year, he's confident. He didn't even play with Dart really at last year, so they're going to develop that chemistry. He has high hopes for him, so I'm excited about Neighbors' potential next year. I think he could be a late first round pick. I was thinking about Genty too in that late first round as well, so I was happy he came back to me. I like Genty a lot next year as well.
It's a small sample size, Moron, but Neighbors played one game with Jackson Dart and he tore his ACL. So it's not a good track record here. Well, is there any other surprises you want to throw at me, Jamie?
No. This was just one. I wanted to give Moron, very good friend of mine, very good friend of all of ours, and certainly friend to the fantasy community, because when he drafts, everybody should follow what he does. And for you to just slander him like that, I think we should just let's run the clip one more time, Thomas, if you have it, just so everybody knows exactly what
you are a bumbling moron who shouldn't even be invited into a league if you take Malik Neighbors in round 1.
Wow. Well, and I think in the mock that we did yesterday, somebody took Neighbors, I think, at the end of round 1 too. I didn't hear any slander there. It might be personal.
I was watching Dodgeball. I was not paying attention. The movie, wasn't really paying attention to this.
So you guys are all Canes guys. Very excited for all three of you. Hopefully it works out in your favor. How excited are you for the game Monday night?
Very excited. I'm trying to get tickets, but it's a little difficult. So I think I'll be watching at the comfort of my own home, but very excited. It's been a while. Biggest game of our adult lives here, I think, guys. I was very young when the last championship happened.
Speak for yourself.
Right. You're the young one. We witnessed some other pretty big games, but it's the biggest Canes game in 23 years. So
yes,
it's pretty exciting.
It is. And as a Dolphins fan, I've never seen a meaningful football game really too much. So very excited for this one.
Yeah. Listen, maybe you and I, we do a lottery where one of us sells a kidney and then we can afford tickets to the game. The most expensive game, I think it's the most expensive game in college football history. It's definitely the most expensive playoff game in college
crazy.
football.
And then you saw parking now is like $800 just to park.
Is really wrong. They got to fix that. That's just wrong. It's disgusting.
I know.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm nervous. I don't see how you could possibly pick Miami, but
I like that. People
are
saying against
Ohio
State.
You can always win, but you can win up front, right?
Yep.
Just one thing I know. All right. Thank you, Moron.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jamie. What a nice surprise. All right. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today. Thank you all for watching and listening. Have a great day. See ya.